Welcome to In Focus. I am Karim Hatem. We discuss the most pressing global developments, analyzing their broader implications with top experts from around the world. Today we examine the latest developments in the conflict in Lebanon, where Israel is continuing its aggression and the humanitarian crisis keeps getting worse. We will also discuss the latest development in the campaigning for US elections, where the race is getting tighter. Stay tuned for more updates. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has appointed Hassan Mahmoud Rashad as a chief of Egypt's General Intelligence Service. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has also appointed Major General Abbas Kamel as advisor to the President, General Coordinator of the Security Services, and Special Envoy of the President. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has appointed Hassan Mahmoud Rashad as a chief of Egypt's General Intelligence Service. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has also appointed Major General Abbas Kamel as advisor to the President, General Coordinator of the Security Services, and Special Envoy of the President. Let us delve now into the latest developments in Lebanon amidst the escalating Israeli raids. As tensions rise, we analyze the mounting human losses. Now, according to Le Monde, in a significant escalation, Israeli airstrikes on October 14 targeted Aitu, a northern Lebanese village in the Zagrata district, killing 24 people, including women and children. This bombing marks the furthest Israeli attack into northern Lebanon between the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel began. The victims, mainly displaced people from southern Lebanon, included the senior member of Hezbollah's political wing. Aitu, predominantly populated by Maronite Christians, is also the stronghold of Slimane Fangay, a prominent Maronite leader aligned with Bashar al-Assad. He is a candidate for the Lebanese presidency, and he is supported by Hezbollah and the Amal movement. This attack underscores the growing regional brutality, highlighting Israel's extended military reach into Lebanon and the complex sectarian dynamics at play. Providing more analysis on the current developments and updates about the latest developments in Lebanon. Joining us now is Mr. Ahmed Azzeddin, a political analyst from Beirut. Welcome. Now, in light of Egypt's recent aid delivery to Lebanon, how does this assistance address the immediate needs of the affected populations? And what role might Egypt play in stabilizing the situation in Lebanon?
It's clear that the Arab countries play a major role in the ceasefire because they cannot leave Lebanon face this alone. Lebanon depends on the Arab group. It's clear that in the Security Council there's a big role played by the representative of Arabs in the Security Council, which is the Algeria delegation that exerts great effort in this regard. So it's required from the Arab group in Security Council, who had a situation taken at the beginning of the crisis. They have to contribute into reaching a ceasefire as what happened in 2006, where the Arab group played an important role. I think this is required today.
Now, how has the role of Egypt been supporting Lebanon? I'm not talking just economically or in light of the current events, but concerning domestic politics too. When I'm mentioning Egypt, I have to mention the Committee of Five that has been supporting Lebanon in the past months, in the past years, with the political challenges that Lebanon has been facing domestically. How do you see that, and how do you see Egypt's role in that?
A party committee that moves to make the presidential election succeed. The Egyptian ambassador moves very effectively in Lebanon. I think the Egyptian role in this regard is very major and important next to Saudi Arabia's role, in addition to Qatar's role. Through this group, there is a clear movement in order to make this course succeed, to make an approach in the points of views and secure the election of the president of the state, either through dialogue or consensus. I think that this committee phrased its work during this war. However, the ambassador, especially the Egyptian ambassador Ala Moussa, moves actively in this phase with all the political parties in Lebanon.
And what do you think is going or needs to be done in the coming days, in the coming months, to support Lebanon politically and eventually economically, especially facing the current crisis and the current challenges?
I believe that Lebanon, in the first place, needs a ceasefire and the end of this war. Then there should be a dialogue on the election of the president of the state, who should be any president that everyone agrees on. He should get the agreement from all the parliamentary and political blocs and the major actors. At the economic level, I think next Thursday, which is in a week, there will be a conference to support Lebanon economically. This conference was initiated by France. Today there was another worth mentioning stance, which is a call for supporting the Lebanese army in this conference. I think there will be a great Arab attendance in this conference, and they will play an important role in providing aid politically or economically. In the light of the Arab group and the international group, they would play a more important role, especially by Egypt.
Okay, let's talk more about the current challenges right now. How do you think the volume of casualties reflect the broader humanitarian crisis unfolding in the region? And how do you think it's going to impact the region as a whole?
Doubtlessly, Israel launches a systematic destructive war that hits the economy and destroys the residential buildings in a very catastrophic way. Over the past 24 hours, I think Israel bombed the market of Nabatea, which is a major city in the south. They also bombed another market in Qana. During this bombing, a big number of innocent people and victims fell down. They also bombed another small city by the borders, so they destroy. And this destruction will have lots of repercussions. In addition, they imposed on all the residents of the south to leave the south, and 1/3 of the residents of Lebanon are now displaced outside of their houses and cities, which also has lots of implications on Lebanon, especially when most of those people return to their houses and their cities, and they will find out that their houses are destroyed, and if the houses are not destroyed, they will not be suitable for living in, which will be a great crisis. But everyone now sees that the priority is the ceasefire, then tackling the rest of the issues.
Well, that was Mr. Ahmad Azadeen, a political analyst from Beirut. Thank you very much for joining us and for your insights. With the U.S. elections getting closer, the tight race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is getting tighter. The effect of the huge support for Trump from Mr. Elon Musk is becoming increasingly highlighted.
We will build what I call an opportunity economy.
We will make America great.
We're ready to fight for it. As one people, we are moving forward.
We will make America safe again.
Now, Bloomberg has reported that Elon Musk contributed $75 million to a super political action committee known also as a super PAC that he established earlier this year to support Trump. This huge sum makes the CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, Inc. one of the biggest political donors in the U.S. Musk has now funded a large portion of the Trump campaign's fundraising efforts. Bloomberg has also said that Trump's Get Out the Vote campaigns in battlegrounds area are being funded by Musk's super PAC in an effort to increase support for the former president and Republicans in swing districts where a House majority for the Republican Party may be possible. To counteract Harris's advantage among the female voters, the group is also spending on digital ad campaigns, some of which are aimed at young males. For more analysis, we are joined now from Chicago by Mr. Craig Katz, an expert on Democratic Party politics, and from Washington, Mr. Lev Larson, a Republican Party member. Welcome, both of you, to Q News. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, Mr. Katz, let's start with, what do you think Elon Musk has impact on in the election results, with money, with influence, with the social media platform as X? Mr. Katz, can you hear me? Okay, well, let's go to Mr. Lawson then. Mr. Lawson, now, what do you think about the race right now? It's getting very tight, isn't it? Because we're seeing now in many of the states now, even the polls, they're stating that between Trump and Harris, there's a very, very small margin. What do you think of that?
Well, I think this was bound to be the result from the beginning. I believe it would have been the same if it was President Biden. The country is pretty much divided almost equally. I would say there's 46% of the people who would support any Democrat against Trump, and there's 46% of the population that would vote for Trump against anybody. So that leaves a very small margin of about 8% of voters who are going to decide, the next president of the United States. And I think we're going to be looking at a lot of disenfranchised voters. And what I mean by that are people who consider themselves not being heard by current politicians who want to make a change. And I think we're going to see independents having a greater influence on this outcome than either people who are registered Republican or Democrat.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what I said in the introduction of this segment. Now, talking about fundraisers and talking about people with influence, Elon Musk has obviously been very vocal about his support to Mr. Donald Trump. What do you think his impact could lead to in this election race?
Well, we should also start by saying Elon Musk's $75 million is not the largest donation to the Donald Trump campaign. Miriam Adelson,
right,
just today topped over $100 million in donations to different Trump PACs and the campaign. And on the other side, for the Vice President Harris's campaign, George Soros has donated well over $130 million to his various charitable organizations and directly to the campaign too. But what makes Elon Musk stand out is the fact that he's willing to stand on a stage with former President Trump and jump up and down and show that he is 100% behind former President Trump and his re-election bid.
Let's talk more about the swing states. Obviously, swing states, they determine the outcomes of the elections. Now, there are 7 swing states in 2024 now. What do you think is going to happen? Obviously, all eyes are going to be on Pennsylvania and Michigan. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think we've seen where each campaign believes the importance of those 2 states falls. Just earlier this week, both Harris and former President Trump were, in fact, Vice President Harris and former President Trump were in Pennsylvania campaigning, both on different sides of the state, of course. But that state is very important to both campaigns, as is Michigan. And the Michigan push, I believe, leans more Democrat, with the current administration in Michigan being a Democratic-heavy administration there from the governor. And Pennsylvania, I think, is more of a toss-up. We've seen also the current Democratic senator from Pennsylvania come out not in favor of Vice President Harris, but also somewhat in support of former President Trump. I think specifically because of the Israeli issue.
Do you think foreign policy is going to play a role in this election? It's not really quite the case with U.S. presidential elections. I mean, foreign policy does not really determine what voters are going to say.
It does a little bit, especially amongst the MAGA Republicans. And it's not specifically support for one country over another, except that I believe the MAGA Republicans do support Israel 110% and would like to see that continue, but they do not support further funding of Ukraine. And I think on that level, when you start talking about the MAGA ideas of isolationism and America first, that's where we're going to see foreign policy rear its head as an issue, is more of along the lines of an America first position, which is usually held by most of the MAGA supporters of former President Trump.
What about Michigan? There's been quite, a lot of eyes are now looking at Michigan because there's an Arab population there. Could they sway the votes in a direction of one of the candidates over the other?
Well, I saw this play out in Virginia, just in the last local elections in Virginia, where the Muslim community was very much up in arms about the support that the Democratic administration headed by President Biden was supporting Israel. And they said they weren't going to be voting Democrat. At the end of the day, they voted straight down the ticket for Democrats in all races there. So I think there's really no sway or change that's going to be felt out of the Arab Muslim communities in any of the states. They're going to be solidly behind the Democrats, and I think that's usually played out behind the scenes, where you'll have key business leaders and community leaders.
Excuse me, right now, Mr. Larson. I mean, at that point, there are some polls and there are some analysts who say that they're not really happy with the current administration, and so they might actually go the other way around, or just stay at home and not vote.
possibly stay at home and not vote. I don't believe, and I have not seen it in any polling or in, like I said, the last year's local elections in Virginia, where there was, Northern Virginia, there's a very large population of Muslim voters, that they're going to vote Republican. They're just not. And I think that kicks back also to remembering where Donald Trump fell with his ban on immigration, that basically he labeled an anti-Muslim immigration. He wasn't going to allow people to immigrate to the United States or get a visa if they were coming from a Muslim state. And that's what they remember. They may be upset currently with the current administration, but like I said, the community leaders in the Arab communities are very much supported by the Democrats, and they will play their cards behind the scene and keep Islamic and Muslim voters, Arab voters in line with the Democratic Party.
I guess my next question is going to be, are there any surprises expected in the coming days? I mean, is there anything that could actually change the mind of voters who have set their minds on voting for Harris or for Trump?
Yes, and you may be referring to what in American politics we call the October surprise,
right?
Which tends to come later in October. There may be, for Donald Trump's campaign, I'm sure they're watching to see if anything drops in the way of issues regarding his legal problems. Vice President Harris's campaign is probably keeping an eye on social media attacks from unknown sources, possibly foreign agents. And I think, but on a general level, any issues out there, I don't think are going to be a big surprise. There may be something that happens internationally with Israel conflict in that region. Iran is a wild card still. If they attack Israel, that could be a deciding change in amongst people who support Harris but see Donald Trump as more in line with a stronger Israel, and they may change their vote to go along with that. But I think what people are keeping a close eye on is the foreign influences through social media, and what shoe may drop there. Will there be another Russiagate issue, or and a secret file that becomes known to the general public? But we'll see as October closes out. Those things usually drop right at the very end, when there's little time to really do some hard research to either prove or disprove.
Let's talk more about the young voters now, and people who are going to be voting for the very first time. In light of the current economic situation, inflation is possibly on the top of the list for what voters are expecting from the candidates. What do you think they're going to be thinking of, even if they are registered Democrats or Republicans?
Well, it depends on where we're talking. My son, this is going to be his first time voting in a presidential election. And I think the group between 18 and 25, inflation is not the issue for them. I think if amongst people who are more liberal, it's going to be the issue of abortion. And I also think for people who are 18 to 25, maybe not college students, I think immigration is the bigger importance for them as an issue when it comes to what they do in the voting booth and who they're going to support. I think those two issues overall, no matter what age group, are going to be at the top of the list. There's a saying that we usually use in political consulting that Americans vote by their pocketbook, but I think this year the issues of abortion and immigration have been so hyped up and so driven that those are the top two issues that are going to get people to support one candidate or the other.
Well, thank you very much. I wish we had more time, Mr. Liv Larson, Republican Party member. Thank you for joining us on Q News, and thank you for all your insights. And that's all for today's episode of In Focus, from the escalating conflict in Lebanon to the close U.S. election race. Thank you for joining us. I'm Karim Hatton. Bye-bye for now.